Hello, Brad here, just to say we're super proud that the Friday 5pm podcast is sponsored by the Malt Miller, the UK's best home brew store.
We use the Malt Miller for all of our homebrew experiments, as well as tapping them up for advice and binging on their awesome YouTube channel all the time.
That's why whenever we release a homebrew video, we put a recipe kit live on the Malt Miller, so you can brew with the exact same amazing ingredients that we did. The same ingredients used by pro brewers.
So alongside the Malt Miller's nitro-flushed hops, cold-stored yeast and milled-to-order malts, you can pick up recipe kits for our 5 Points Best Bitter, Russian River West Coast IPA, and now the fastest beer in the world, a hazy session IPA that goes from grain to glass in less than 48 hours.
Sign up to their newsletter at tinyurl.com/Malt Miller to get 5% off your first order. With the Malt Miller's amazing customer service and Johnny's 48-hour recipe, you could order the ingredients on a Monday and be drinking the beer by the weekend.
Speaking of which, it's Friday.
It's 5pm.
So enjoy this week's Friday 5pm podcast. Evening Beer Geeks, I hope it's as beautiful where you are as it is here. I've got the most beautiful, this studio on a lovely day really lights up in golden hour. It's quite stunning in the Brudio. How are you doing, Brad?
I'm all right, man. Yeah. How's your week in beer been?
It's been good. I've been up to lots of different things. The main thing I did was run out of beer, which is a rare thing. Well, I should say run out of beer. Beer geeks never run out of beer. They run out of beer that they want to drink. So I have about 250 bottles of beer that and cans, of course, that I'm trying to get through and failing. But you obviously, when you see an 8% Baltic Porter and it's your first drink of the day, that one sort of goes to the back of the fridge. So I ran out of lagers, pales, lagers and pales, which is essentially the first drink of the day. So I decided last minute to keg the test Pilsner I've been working on.
Ah, nice.
Which then has to carbonate, obviously, so it didn't solve the problem there and then. But hopefully by tonight it will be solved. And I'll be able to send you, Bradley, a beautiful picture, and our Patreons in the Homebrew Forum of our Discord, a beautiful picture of what is hopefully a crystal clear, light golden, as gold as the light in the Brudio, Pilsner that will be my 5pm drink today.
Beautiful. I'd like a picture and a picture of it as well, please. So I can have a 4-pint picture through the postal service.
Posting a picture.
Yeah.
Oh God, this is also confusing. You can post a picture to Instagram, but no, If I post a picture in the post to you, it would be oxidized and spilt everywhere. So maybe I'll post you a bottle instead.
I reckon just put a bit of cling film over the top. That'd
you
right.
reckon that's enough?
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, half the things I post to you anyway get broken in the post. So maybe cling film's just as likely to survive as glass.
Where do you... have you got any good memories of drinking out of a 4-pint pitcher anywhere? Because it used to be a big thing, didn't it? With you go bowling and you drink a 4-pint pitcher of Carling or whatever, like some terrible Foster's top or something. Have you got any good memories of drinking out of a 4-pint
I remember Camden Town Brewery back in the day used to do 4-pint pitchers.
They did, didn't
so
they?
we used to get 4-pint pitchers of IHL, which was I think 6.2%, and that led to some
and then fall over.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, led to some very hazy memories, but I guess good memories. It's hard to know when you don't remember much of it. But that used to be a little routine on a Friday that me and my housemates back in our mid-20s used to do. Nice. So there's good memories, and obviously bowling. All bowling's a great memory. Bowling's great.
I'm not really a bowling fan, but I'm sort of. There's a couple of bowling alleys that I've dear to my heart. One of them is, I don't even know if it's still there, the Elephant and Castle bowling alley. Because we would always go there for my friend Andy's birthday, which is just.
Are we talking as
Christmas.
Kids here, or are we talking
just
adults?
After Christmas? No, as adults.
Oh, right.
As a bunch of sort of trendy art students, we'd rock up to quite a rough bowling alley in the Elephant and Castle shopping centre, which is sort of near what was the biggest council estate, I think, in London, the Hayward. Is it the Hayward? I think it was the Hayward, something like that. So it was a bit fruity in there, but they had like sort of disco vibes going on, and we'd always go there. He loved bowling. That's the only bowling place I like. Tolerate, apart from Gutter Ball, or no, sorry, the Gutter, I think it's called, in
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn, which I think is awesome. It's like a proper 1950s bowling alley with like a kind of amazing Cheers looking deep dark wooden bar with like pool tables, obviously pictures like I just said, and the biggest American flag on the wall I think I've ever seen. Like a sort of,
I love it. It's very
cool
on brand for you to go to somewhere that is well known and specific to something, and manage to talk about everything except that one thing.
Yeah. Well, I don't like bowling, Johnny, so
yeah.
I've got to take it in for different reasons.
Giant American flags is your bag.
Yeah. Well, I just love Americana and stuff. So it's like a time warp place. Again, it's kind of full of hipsters, I guess, but they have a bowling club there, so there's like club nights and stuff. Not that I'm in the. I mean, that'd be pretty niche if I was in a bowling club for a bowling what do we call it, lane that's on a different continent. So yeah, I'm not a member. Maybe I should become a member. That'd be good, wouldn't it?
Maybe you should. Why wouldn't you as a bowling hater? Talking of Americana, the other thing I did this week, and we were messaging about it, wondering whether we should, is that I spunked £48 on 3 cans of IPA from America.
Oof! Yeah, you had to ring me so we could make an executive joint decision on that, because 3 cans for £50.
£16.10 each one.
Yeah. That's
don't forget the extra 30p.
It's not a great deal, is it? It's not a great deal, Johnny. But what do you reckon?
No, but we did it for a very good reason. So we haven't done a hype train video in a long, long time, and some cans of Monkish fell off the back of a van or washed up in the UK. I'm not quite sure of the legalities of it, but it was from a legitimate, very good bottle shop. So we snapped some up, and we'll be filming a hype train video about Monkish very soon, which is kind of serendipitous because in our longer interview with Vinny, when he's talking about his dry hop quantities, he references Monkish, saying that he's friends with one of the owners, and how this guy always messages Vinny and says, "Are you sure it's only £2 per barrel?" Which is about 8 grams per litre, because Vinny manages to squeeze a lot of hop character out of his beers at that sort of level. So clearly, I guess Vinny thinks that Monkish make great beer because they do a lot of beer trade. So I'm excited. We had some Monkish when we went over to the West Coast in 2016. We had it at the Rate Beer Best Festival, and it was great. But I remember enjoying their saisons more. But hey, I don't think they make saison anymore. It's just wall-to-wall IPA.
Yeah, wall-to-wall IPA. I was just thinking. It made me think of the Monkees. Do you remember that great band? Underappreciated
one of them
band.
Recently died. Recently, I think.
Yeah, he did. Right. Michael Nesmith, who was the singer, died very recently, which is very sad. I quite like the Monkees. I enjoyed watching the Monkees TV show as a kid, and the banana splits as well. I remember. Don't know why they used to play those on Channel 4 like in the mornings, sort of almost like kids' TV. But
it's like reruns of the Monkees in the mornings. Yeah, because obviously that TV show was made well before we were born. But I remember it being rerun for no apparent reason. Gap in the schedule.
It's great. It's just real positive sort of. I guess when America was very, very much a sort of on the up, and as like a sort of anything was possible in the 60s, and everything was great and optimistic and stuff. Not that it isn't. Well, no, I wasn't going to say not that it isn't now, but
let's not go down that road, Brad. Let's pretend the world doesn't exist on the Friday 5 PM podcast.
Yeah. Yes. But
although on that topic, we should be saying that. So we've got some big plans for next week. We've got a video that we shot way back in January going live. But next week, I'm brewing the Brave Noise beer. So this is the beer that's raising funds and encouraging breweries to release codes of conduct to ensure that the kind of horrific sexism, misogyny, and other forms of prejudice don't continue to happen. It's basically a pandemic of that in the craft beer industry at the moment. We're going to be brewing a beer and interviewing Brianne, who started that whole movement with one Instagram post about a sexist comment made to her, I think while installing a new brew house at Notch. that sort of snowballed into this Me Too movement for beer. And yeah, we're going to be supporting that and also releasing a code of conduct for the Craft Beer Channel, or more an editorial policy to ensure that we're doing our best to help. And we're going to be turning to our Patreons for help with that next week. So Patreons, watch out for that. And if you want to join and have your say, you can join our Patreon. And all the profits from the video, so the advertising revenue, will be going to charity. Cool. Should we talk about this week's video?
Yeah, man, we better get round to it, eh?
I'd love to say it's why people tune in, but I think it's more for your derailments that they do. But yeah, we should talk about the video. Pretend that there's a purpose to this podcast. Yeah, so this week's video was the second episode of our Odyssey. I keep calling it an Odyssey. I think it has been. Certainly has been for me. I've been working on this video for a bloody long time. And yeah, well, this was our second episode of brewing a West Coast IPA with the one and only Russian River. What did you think of the journey, Bradley?
I mean, I think we might as well just quit as a channel now, because we've filmed with the best. Now no, of course not, Johnny. But Russian River.
Where do we go from here?
I mean, they're absolute monsters in what they do. They're giants in their field, and what a pleasure. I mean, like, Vinny is such a nice guy. That full interview, is it actually live? Can people check it out now? I know it's
well, yes. This is something I was going to reference. I completely forgot to send it live last Sunday, so I'm going to send it live this Sunday. But you can still watch it in the cards on the videos. Both videos have a link to them within the videos.
So you got a full unabridged interview with Vinny, just talking absolute gold dust for like an hour, which is amazing. Mate, you know what? I should be drinking the other sample that you sent me, right? But I'm not right now. But the beer that we made was incredible. I mean, not a spot of haze in it. That was the stuff you popped in there, the clarifying stuff. But honestly, it was maybe a little bit juicier than I was expecting, which is because of, you said, like, maybe the cryo hops were just absolutely...
Yeah, well, the selection of the Simcoe, obviously the way that hop growing is going, there's the demand from breweries for juicier hops, so higher content of certain oils. So I think maybe, Simcoe, that selection was a juicy Simcoe rather than a dank, piney, creme caramel.
It tasted absolutely bangarang, Johnny. Like, incredible. I felt like, one of the, like from Hook, one of the Lost Boys that was just chilling, drinking some juice in the forest. Maybe I'm Rufio, maybe I'm one of the other ones, I don't know. But I felt very good. About it, Johnny. And
did you? I'm glad you enjoyed it. Like, I was super chuffed with the beer as well. It was right. I think I say that it's probably the best homebrew we've ever done, but that is actually quite tough, because I think through sheer coincidence and obviously working with some of the best breweries in the world, we've produced, like, the best bitter with 5 points was amazing. The New England IPA with Verdant was amazing. The Christmas beer and my Hefeweizen weren't perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but it was right up there. I think still probably the best bitter is my favourite homebrew I've done, but from a technical perspective, I think this was pretty bang on.
Nah, it was definitely the pumpkin spiced rotter, wasn't it? That was the best one we've ever done.
I've still got some bottles. I should check in on that, see how that's doing.
Yeah.
Did you see, though, in the comments, so we'll move on to the comments now, but did you see there were quite a few people going like, why is Brad drinking from a Lucky Saint bowl? Are you faking this?
Yeah.
To which I have to say, like, no, absolutely no, we're not faking it. That's just the bottle I had to hand when I quickly bottled some for Brad. It is a slightly ironic bottle to choose, but yeah, it was definitely our beer. Like, the colour was totally wrong for Lucky Saint.
That's true. No, I can confirm it was the beer that you sent in the post. I was a bit confused when it arrived in a Lucky Saint box as well. But yeah, I mean, it was great. I was gonna try and wash the labels off, but they're very well stuck on.
Yeah, so I had to go at peeling them off and was like, that's not going to happen without a lot of work.
I just thought, do you know what? Fuck it. And then I tried to draw on it with a Sharpie pen, and it was almost like greasy or something. It wouldn't write on with a Sharpie very well. So, Yeah, it's like basically
they've seen the home brewers coming. They're like, no, we're going to make sure
yeah.
our branding sneaks into videos.
They've made it indestructible. That's what they've done. They've worked on the technology. They've taken all of that alcohol potency away from the beer, and then they've put it into the labels. So the labels are hard as nails, and
that's right.
Just,
that's how de-alcoholization happens. It just
exactly
seeps
it goes
into the bottle
into
and
the labels, Johnny. It's like osmosis. It goes through the glass like magic somehow and into the labels. So be very careful with those labels out there, guys.
Yeah, don't suck on the labels. Did you have any favourite comments?
I did. Let me just have a look, Johnny.
I like that. I did. I've lost it. Oh, no, you got it. Okay.
No, I've got it. So, Yoel Machia Delgado said, amazing. Thanks to this video, I'm starting to brew again. Bought a few more books and back to the road. Thanks, Johnny and Brad. So I've picked some positivity. God damn it. These names are crazy. This one's Ijkil Flesdijik Fnas Lekfnade. He said,
I can see how it's spelled.
Yeah. It's totally bonkers. I can't think of a single soul who watched this video till the end and isn't seriously considering brewing this beer or something pretty similar. Great work, guys. Cheers from Brazil.
Brazil, cheers.
Brazil, yeah, Brazil. West Coast. I mean, they haven't got a West Coast, have they? They're on the East Coast.
No, they've only got an East Coast, yeah. Maybe a North Coast.
Massive country, but no West Coast. No West Coast.
Yep.
So there's that one. Then there's another one, David Mallard. I can feel this Westie elbowing its way into my 2022 brew schedule as we speak. Good job, fellas.
Boom. Make it happen.
Yeah, man. That's where I'll leave it with my comments, but massively positive. People saying it's getting them back to home brewing again, which maybe that's a thing about we're just leaving January. Maybe that's a thing about people reminiscing about a style which they don't get to drink much anymore that just takes them back to, maybe like their gateway beers into craft and everything. That's
exactly.
That's what it does for me.
Nostalgia is super powerful when it comes to flavour and particularly in beer. That's where pastry style brewing I think is so compelling, because it takes you back to a certain flavour or a certain time. And I think maybe enough time has passed between West Coast IPA kind of disappearing in in the UK, like 2016, 2017, in America a couple of years before. I wrote an article about it for Good Beer Hunting about how Black IPA had a little return, because it had been sort of 5 or 6 years since that had almost completely disappeared, and maybe Westies are having the same. I just hope that it sticks, because I think that if we're gonna have 80% of our taps full of IPA, it'd be good to have two different kinds across the board.
I think that's the thing as well, right? So if you had a pint of Nipa sat next to a Westie, just to look at them is quite interesting. Like one's pretty much crystal clear, the other one's hazy Merkfest, and you could probably learn quite a lot just from experiencing the two different styles next to each other. Maybe that's a video.
Well, we've done a video on it.
We have done a video on it, haven't we? Actually,
yeah. It's like you're describing a video we made.
Yeah. That actually did well, that video. But I think for anyone out there who's able to get it and drink them side by side, you can learn a lot, and you can probably start to appreciate the West for being a bit less sort of overly sweet and a bit more robust and
complex.
Kind of complex. Yeah. It's a weird one, isn't it? That it's fallen so out of favour. But hey, man, we're trying to bring it back. West is best.
Well, the thing to remember though is that probably in terms of what's actually drunk, probably more West Coast IPA is still drunk than New England. It's just in like the geeky bubble where New England IPA is completely taken over. But we have seen brands like Hazy. What's the Sierra Nevada brand? Hazy Little Thing. Getting really big in the States. So it is starting to go mainstream. But really, New England IPA has sort of washed over the beer geek scene. But still, I'm sure, Lagunitas IPA and all these ones are doing volumes that most breweries can only ever dream of. So West Coast IPA is still out there. It's just not cool at the moment. And I hope that it does become cool again.
It was used to be the sort of search for bitterness, right? And that kind of dankness.
And now it's the search for juice.
Juice, yeah. But I mean, I think our one had a bit of dankness and juice, which was lovely. But
yeah, I mean, I'd dial back. I think you'd agree. We'd dial back the juiciness if we could, just a shade.
Yeah.
Because it was. It's not that it was too much. It was a delicious beer. It's just we wanted a classic West Coaster to really contrast with all the New England beers, and what we ended up with was one that just had a little hint of New England to it, essentially. But was still bloody delicious, and I've nearly finished the keg, which actually, I got close to finishing the Hefe. Your Hopfenweiss was very, very tasty. Most of the Dunkelweiss went down the drain when I had to put the West Coast IPA in that keg. But yeah, the Hefe I drank a lot of, and the West Coast is nearly gone. And hopefully the Pilsner I think will disappear quite quickly as well if it's as good as I'm thinking it's going to be. I had a comment as well, which was from the blessedly easy to pronounce Hard Yards Brewers.
Oh yeah.
And he said, I'm watching this at 7:30 a.m. and now I'm thirsty. You're right, Johnny. We're too caught up in how a beer looks when it's the aroma and taste that matter. In saying that, the CBC and Russian River Westie look smack on for a West Coast. Well done. So yeah, I flagged this because I said it in the video that it's a little bit crazy that, I remember 10 years ago, we used to, we didn't want clear beer. We wanted unfiltered, unfined. We thought that you were leaving more flavour in there. And now, we went to that extreme of New England where it's super crazy hazy now, and there are lots of people saying that's badly made without sort of understanding the style, and lots of people going, no, it's amazing. And now those people that were saying like, no, haze is great, leave it all in, are the same people saying, why is my West Coast IPA hazy? So we've done a complete 360, and the people who were calling for haze are now calling for clarity, and I include myself in that to some extent, which is why I wanted to make clear, Clarity shouldn't be the goal. Flavour, texture, aroma should be the goal. And if that means you have a hazy beer, cool. If it means that you have a clear beer, cool. Just whatever is the better beer. So there was a touch of haze to ours, like hop haze. But, the clarity stuff that I'd used meant that it didn't affect the texture. There was no yeast bite. And it was, a really crisp beer. Whereas, once it was hop hazy, I was like, I don't need to do anything about that as far as I'm concerned because it's not affecting the drinking experience. So yeah, just wanted to, haze should never be the goal, but it should also, clarity I don't think really should be either. Even in lagers, if it tastes the same with a tiny bit of haze, don't worry about it. Keg it once it's delicious, which is exactly what I did this week because I was like, it's still not dropped entirely bright, but it's tasting absolutely bloody marvellous, and I want to capture that before it fades. So I lagered it for 4 weeks. I was aiming for 5. I don't really know why. I think because Budvar say 35 days, and I don't know. This is something we'll be talking about when we do the final video. But 4 weeks of lagering, 12 days of fermenting, and it's tasting bloody marvellous. So I've got it in package to capture all the flavours.
Nice. Is it still quite sweet?
Well, it's not sweet at all, but it's perceived sweetness. Yeah, it's
Okay.
10. What did it finish? I think it was 10, 12 it finished on, which is about right, I think, for a Bohemian style Pilsner. But yeah, lots of kind of honeyed, bready, brioche kind of notes. And then lots of bitterness. It's slightly too bitter. I used a lot of SARS. Actually, the only time I ever get blockages with the Grainfather is when I make a really big New England IPA. And I actually got a tiny blockage with the Pilsner because it's 200 grams of SARS went into the boil, 100 at the start, 100 at the finish. And I'd actually dialed back the bittering addition. Well, not dialed it back. I added it pretty much all at the start of the boil, and I'm going to put an addition halfway through. So 75 grams at the start, 25 grams in the middle, see how that does for batch 2. And then batch 3, I reckon, will be the real thing with decoction and everything.
Oh, can't wait.
Ooh.
Can't wait.
Ooh. Right, we've got a question this week to finish on. It's not a recorded question, it's a written question from James Newman. And he's emailed us. You can email us on craftbeerboys@gmail.com if you've got a question. James Newman says, hey guys, love your podcasts. I came across this rather depressing article and it made me think of the campaign Keep Cask Alive that you guys are promoting. And it made me think, is this the goal also to preserve old pubs and make them UNESCO sites? So this article that he's linked to is it's a City AM article about Britain's oldest pub in St Albans shutting down after 1,228 years. So yeah, he said, is it not just the breweries? If not, it'd be a great initiative. There's a pub I used to go to in Nottingham called Ye Olde Trip to Jerusalem, which Brad and I have been to, which originates from the 12th century. It's like stepping back in time, and it's so important these places are preserved. He's got another question, so we'll address that in a sec. But firstly, we've got some updates on the UNESCO campaign. We haven't been sitting on our hands. We have been doing stuff, and we've made a connection with a lawyer at York University who specialises in this kind of work and is a Craft Beer Channel fan, and he is going to be helping us start the procedure. So there's a lot of work to do. It's going to take a couple of years, but we're pretty dedicated to doing it, or at least getting the wheels in motion. And the first thing that in the first meeting that we had with him, he said it would probably need to be to protect the pub as a whole. So that's very much what we want to do. So we're going to try and get the British pub listed as an intangible cultural heritage, give it that marker with UNESCO, and within that definition would be that a British pub as protected by UNESCO should serve cask ale, and then we can get the definition of cask ale and get that protected within that. So that's kind of the plan. We're still going through the motions with that, still working out what the next steps are, but it probably involves getting a bunch of academics together, which will be an interesting meeting for us, considering who we usually talk to. So yeah, we'll give you updates as and when that stuff happens here on the pod and in our Patreon forum. Then James's second question is, what other stuff can the average person do? I said that like we're not average people. We're desperately average. What other stuff can average people do to help this campaign other than writing to our MPs? So the first thing you can do is sign up to our newsletter, because that's where you'll get all the information from the campaign. And we will eventually be making petitions and stuff to get the governments to sit up and take notice of this. So join that. And then otherwise, fucking drink cask, yeah?
Drink cask. I was going to say, can we put like a little asterisk in when we're qualifying what is a British traditional pub? No Wetherspoons allowed. Can we put that in there? Fuck them.
Maybe we'll put a minimum pricing in on cask. You've got to pay X amount for cask. But that's not going to be possible. But I think for all our hatred of Wetherspoons, some of their pubs probably would qualify for it if they're sort of old, beautiful buildings. They're serving cask right, because some of them do. It's just the pricing that's desperately dispiriting about Wetherspoons. Yeah, not the price they charge for the drinks. That's great. It means that beer's more accessible to people, but the price they pay the brewers is kind of shocking. And obviously those two are linked, so it's a bit of a tricky situation. Drink cask. Maybe we should set a Craft Beer Channel challenge, which is when you go into a pub, if you see that there's cask on, whether you fancy cask or not, ask for a sample. Because it might be that if you have a sample of it and it tastes amazing, you're like, actually, I will have a pint of cask. So, yeah, James, that's what I'd say. Every time you go to a pub that serves cask, ask for a little sample of whatever's on. And hopefully it'll inspire you to have to drink more cask, because that is the way that we can help cask ale best. It's just drink a ton of it.
There's got to be a pun in there somewhere. Ask for cask. Ask something along that. Ask for cask, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I think ask for cask. There you go. There's the new campaign. We'll be pitching that.
# ask for cask.
Yeah.
It sounds like arse though, which is not good.
Yeah, it does. It does. We've had a lot of that. A lot of confusion as to how things are spelled and said today. But yeah, ask for cask. Post a picture.
Not of your arse though, just of cask.
No. Don't. Oh God. Okay, I'm going to call it. I'm going to call it here. I'm going to end the podcast right here before we go down to some. I was about to say dark alleys, and now that's got a different bloody feel to it as well. So, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you on Sunday for the full interview with Vinny, and then next week we are talking about pastry sours. The Bubble and Friday 5pm podcasts are brought to you by the nerds behind YouTube's Craft Beer Channel. You can watch over 400 mini documentaries at youtube.com/The Craft Beer Channel. And if you love what we do, support us via Patreon and get access to merchandise and our amazing Discord forum, a positive and welcoming space for everyone who loves beer, food and homebrewing. Love and beer.